What's up guys, and welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, my name is Dave. I am a photographer and videographer from the Bay Area of California, but I am currently not there. I'm obviously in a hotel room. I am here in Seattle, where I have been out shooting all day with a friend of mine. I'm gonna tell you more about that at a later date, because right now I wanna talk about what it took to make the short film that I am launching next week. I feel like this video is important because a lot of times I think when we have this project in our head or in our heart and we think about the details of the creative process, like, hey, here's what I want to do, here's how I want to capture it, here's the gear I'm going to need, we don't always think about what it will actually take in terms of time, money, and logistics to make something happen. So then, because most creatives think in terms of the creative process, when we hit up against those barriers of logistics and time and resources, it gets a little overwhelming and then we bail on the project. I refuse to believe that I am the only one that has done that. I'm sure there are plenty of other people who have done that before as well. So I had this project in mind that I wanted to do. It's a short film, or maybe we can call it a mini documentary, or at its core, we can just call it an interview. This film really aligns with what I feel like I'm supposed to be doing with my time. I turned 40 last year and I really evaluated what I've been doing and really what gives me the most life in terms of what I'm shooting, the things I'm giving my time to. When I really started to dissect it all, I realized that the thing that gets me the most excited is elevating other artists. So as I was scrolling on my social one day, I came across a profile of someone I had never heard of. His name is Christian Wallowing. He is a Northern Arapaho singer and songwriter, and his family comes from the Wind River Reservation in Wyoming. If you are an American citizen and you're watching this video, you might be somewhat familiar with the indigenous people of the US and how the reservations have become places where, in his own words, people were sent to die. It is a very dark part of the American story, and unfortunately, it is still playing out today across many reservations in the US, and the Wind River being one of the larger ones, especially in terms of land mass. If you're not from the US and you're, say, in Europe or somewhere else in the world watching this video, I'm sure you've heard, at least in some type of history, some of America's dark past completely destroyed people groups, committed genocide, destroyed natural resources like the bison or buffalo. I mean, it's a really dark part of the American story. So Christian Wallowing Bull, being an artist from a reservation, is actually pretty rare. As he tells it in his story, most people there are just trying to survive. No one's thinking about the arts, yet he has an incredible story of overcoming so much and going on and winning Wyoming's singer-songwriter contest, which positioned him to share his music across the state and now across the West, playing incredible shows this coming spring. I mean, he's getting momentum in his career. And I reached out to Christian. We got to know each other through just texting and some phone calls, and I was able to go to Wyoming and drive across the Wind River Reservation to meet with Christian and tell his story. Now, right there is where a lot of the creative process gets exciting, because you're thinking about the story you want to tell, how you want to tell it, what cameras you want to use to tell it with, what gear you're going to need to support it, what lenses you're going to bring, visuals, B-roll, and that stuff's very exciting. But when it comes to planning these logistics, things start to add up. So let's talk about the logistics. Now, I live in the Bay Area of California. My home airport is SJC, which is the San Jose airport, and I needed to get from San Jose to Jackson, Wyoming, which was the closest airport to Christian's home. Jackson this time of year is full of people that go there to ski. It has become such an insane place since the pandemic. I was fortunate enough to go there prior to it getting insane, and then I've been back many times, and every time I'm there, it honestly makes me a little depressed as to what it's become. It's basically become like a billionaire's playground. I saw entitlement worse than I've ever seen it on this trip, but that's an entirely different video. But I had to get from San Jose to Jackson. I would need at least a full day with Christian. I would need at least a full day to get some supporting footage and B-roll. I needed a day to travel there and a day to travel back. So it's gonna be a 4-day trip, Wednesday through a Saturday. The flight was $384.40. Now, I actually had a flight credit with Delta Airlines from a flight that was canceled when lockdown happened that I honestly had forgotten about. That credit was worth $226. So right there, my flight was dropped down to $160.40. However, as we'll talk about in a minute, I had to check 2 bags of gear. So that was $60 each way, it was 30 and 30. So it added $120 to the whole flight, but we'll get to all that in a minute. Then I needed a place to stay in Jackson. Now I invited my friend Jacob to accompany me on this trip, and so he bought his own flight, and I told him if he can fly himself there, I'll take care of the rest. So I got us an Airbnb that had 2 rooms because I am not a good sleeper and I get up so early in the morning, and I have found that sharing hotel rooms with people just doesn't work anymore at my age and with my sleep status. So I got us an Airbnb little apartment with 2 rooms, but it's during ski season, which is more expensive than any other time of year apparently. Our Airbnb for 3 nights, the night we arrived, the day that we shot the interview, and the next day shooting around the Grand Teton National Park, which again, you can watch that video. 3 nights in that Airbnb, and this was the cheapest thing I could find, guys. It was $1,074.17. Next up, we needed a car to get around the Jackson area and to drive across the mountain pass over to the Wind River and cross the Wind River. And in the winter time, where weather can be really cold, snowy, icy, and unpredictable. So just some basic car just didn't feel like it was going to be safe. I ended up renting a vehicle with 4-wheel drive. For the 3 days we had that vehicle, it was $171.33. Now, thankfully, gas in Wyoming is significantly cheaper than where I live in California, and it only took $42 to fill up the car 2 times. So I had $84 in filling up our vehicle. And then, of course, there was food and drinks, which I'm gonna keep what we spent on that to myself. But all in, the flights, the checked bags, the car, and the Airbnb, that totaled out to be $1,609.90. This was no inexpensive project, obviously, and that is a significant amount of money for me. This project is going to air Monday morning at 6:15 a.m. Pacific time. I am very excited for you guys to watch it. And I guess if I was to sum up the point of this video, it's to share that creativity is risk. I know what I've risked, but I want Christian Wallowing Bull to gain so much from this. I first off want him to gain fans. I would love for you guys to check out his music even ahead of time. Listen to his songs before you watch the video. Learn about him, follow him on social. All of his links are right below. You can go to his website and read about him or just follow him. So I want him to gain from this project. But I also want you to gain from this project as well. I want you to learn more about what life looks like for an Indigenous artist. And I want you to be inspired because we all have obstacles. We don't have to come from these horrible places to face obstacles. Now, you face obstacles just like anybody else. But sometimes when you hear what other people have overcome to get where they are, it makes us realize that our obstacles are really just that. They're just obstacles. They're just things to overcome. They're just logistics to figure out, time to allocate, resources to come up with. They're all just obstacles. And I hope you experience that kind of inspiration when you watch his story next week. Check out the premiere of Lone Wolf next Monday. Thank you guys so much for listening to this video. And as always, thank you so much for your support and for watching. I'll see you next time.